There is a good chance that I will say something bad about Twilight. That being said, any fan of the franchise who doesn't want to listen to the review, please click back on your browser and watch a different video. If you want to watch anyway and get mad over it, don't yell at me for not warning you. Thank you.
I'm a vampire, babe, sucking blood from the earth.
We all know Twilight, the overhyped slosh fest that's been sweeping the nation for around 4 or 5 years. Essentially about one Isabella Swan and one Edward Cullen falling in love in the town of Forks, not to be confused with the Yellow Knife. Twist being is that Eddie here and his supposed family are a coven of vampires from various time periods, a danger on its own without a human much closer in their midst than they should be. The story is told from Bella's point of view in first person, meaning that she's the person narrating it, which is more unfortunate than it sounds. How it is unfortunate is the fact that Bella is a very unlikable character, to the point where I half expected her to start cutting herself one minute while she's flattering herself in the next. Another unfortunate aspect of the story is how the vampires are portrayed. There are only 2 vampiric aspects to them: their immortal beauty and their thirst for blood. Aside from that, they're not afraid of religion, they have a reflection, and being in the sun does not burn them to a cinder, but rather make them as sparkly as the alternate lifestyle. All they really need to do now is eat 5 bulbs of garlic and the image of vampires will most definitely have been killed. On the other hand, the character Edward is probably one of my more favorite characters in the story, and not because he's like a runway model with excessive glitter spray. He makes a clear point that he's dangerous and does so by screwing with Bella's head now and again, which is very entertaining to read. In fact, despite his claims of never wanting to leave her, he probably tries almost everything to make her lose interest in him. First, he says that a complete idiot would want to be with him, then he says that he's obsessed with her smell, then she finds out that he comes into her room every night to watch her sleep, which would be more than enough for one to call the police on account that there's someone stalking them. As for how the book is written, it is also unfortunate that for the degree of English that Stephanie Meyer claims that she has, the book is 4 times longer than it really should be. Let me explain quickly about the crutch of lazy. Most common amongst amateurs, the crutch of lazy is used in excess as a weak excuse to prove one's intelligence or out of fear for continuing a plotline. Its ranges are repetition, lack of detail, too much detail, and plagiarism. Stephanie here falls into the too much detail category, giving insight on the most insignificant things and using too many words to describe someone in a short sentence. Another thing she does is tack on very big words that are unnecessary and would just as easily be explained with a different and easier to understand word. Also, the grammatical errors were plenty enough to be very annoying. As for the story, for me at least, it felt awkward. I can surely admire this story's somewhat original in this day and age, but Bella's lack of intelligence with Edward's maturity seems a little cruel towards her well-being and his reigning sanity. Actually, the story does feel more like a fanfiction written by a would-be 14-year-old rather than a novel written by a grown-up, which is probably the most disappointing for me, while at the same time could be the reason why people like reading it, seeing as it could be something that one might relate to. Sort of. All in all, however, I don't think the book deserves the hype it's getting, and when I say hype, I mean from both ends of the spectrum. The war between the Twilight-loving OMG Edward is so hot I want his underwear fans and the death to Stephanie Meyer for destroying the vampire image Twilight haters is absolutely futile and is starting to tick me off. I'll admit, after the badgering from my friends about Twilight, I wanted to like it so that they would stop talking about it. I hope it does anyway, specifically the one who won't stop harassing us about it for love, money, or onion rings.
Your eyes cast a spell that bewitches. The last time I needed 20 stitches to sew up the gash you made with your lash as we danced to the masochism tango. Bash in my brain and make me scream with pain, then kick me once again and say we'll never part. I know too well
will most definitely have been killed. On the other hand, the character Edward is probably one of my more favorite characters in the story, and not because he's like a runway model with excessive glitter spray. He makes a clear point that he's dangerous and does so by screwing with Bella's head now and again, which is very entertaining to read. In fact, despite his claims of never wanting to leave her,